Good afternoon. I have my Waterloo, one of my last of the cranberry ones of the season. Normally, oh, by the way, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda. Normally when I do my weekly wrap-ups, I have my coffee, and that's because I am filming on Friday morning after my kids go to school. That's not the situation now. I'm filming Friday afternoon after my hair appointment, and also my kids are not in school. They canceled. They've not been in school this entire week. There's still, I guess, snow on the ground. So here in Oregon, we had snow, and then it was like icy snow, so it wasn't even snow kids could play in. And then it iced over, and then we had an ice storm on top of the ice that we already had, and now it's like still melting. And so yesterday we got a message from the school saying we're planning to have school, and I was like doing the happy dance, yay! And then I woke up this morning and there was a message saying there was no school. What I think it is now, the roads, I did go out today because hair. The roads in my neighborhood are a little slushy, but the main roads are all fine. So where we live is pretty, we're kind of like in the flats, but around us there are hills and people live in the hills. And I think the conditions in the hills are pretty bad, which is why they did that for like the safety. But again, we've had a lot of together time this week. And I kind of, wasn't quite ready for that much together time, like a week after we've had 2 weeks together. Not that I don't love my kids, but they're noisy. You can hear something playing over there. I'm not even fighting it at this point. Just it is what it is. Anyway, so that's what's been going on. What else? We got our Christmas tree down. There's not all the stuff's put away, but we have the Christmas tree down. My part of that process is done. The rest is up to my husband. So we have that going on. What else? We were going to go down to Salem tomorrow, but now I don't think we're going down next week. I don't know. Actually, even though it's like snowy and icy right now, it's supposed to get up to like the high 50s in the next couple of days. So that will be high 50s and rainy, but I'm happy with that. I just want people to leave my house. Like yesterday, my daughter and I did venture out and go to the grocery store kind of to test the roads. And it was, as I said, like our neighborhood is slushy, a little bit icy, but the main roads are fine. But I had not planned to be stuck in the house quite as long as we were. So we were getting to the point, we had plenty of food in our house, but just like the combinations to make meals were starting to get a little bit stranger. So we needed to go to the grocery store. And so it wasn't that crowded. But there were empty shelves here and there, except for the aisle that on one side is beer and the other side is frozen pizza. Like, that was completely empty. It was like, we know what people have been eating and drinking. So yeah, that's life in the Pacific Northwest. I don't have much else to tell you in this video. As I said, we didn't do much this week. We just sat around. Because of that though, I did finish 4 books, and I can't talk about, or I'm not going to talk about all of them here, but I'm going to touch base on them. So the first book I finished was In the Woods by Tana. Now, last week when I did my update, I said I was reading it and I was almost done, and people like wrote back, I love that book, whatever. But Hannah at Savage Reads especially said, I want to know what you thought of the end of it because the end made her really mad. She was not the only person who said that the end made her mad. So I was like, what's going on? So I finished it, and I have thoughts on the ending. I will say my reaction wasn't quite as big as some people's. I mean, it was, but I did a whole video about it. So that video is going to go up next Thursday. So if you want to know what I thought of In the Woods by Tana, come back next Thursday, the 25th, I think. So I did finish that. And then the next book I finished was my Agatha Christie for this month, which was supposed to be my Agatha Christie, I think in November. I just didn't get to it, and then I didn't get to it, and now I'm finally got to it, which is Murder in Mesopotamia. This was an interesting experience. So as I had said before, I had actually already seen the adaptation of this, and I didn't like the adaptation. I just didn't. I thought the performances were kind of weird and all that, but also the story was bonkers and kind of ridiculous. However, reading it, I actually found myself really enjoying this book. I think the fact that it was ridiculous was just kind of not an issue at this point because I already knew it was ridiculous. But I thought that there was a sense of fun in the writing with this. So the narrator is a nurse called Amy Leatherman. And she has a great voice. And I like it because when Perot is introduced into the book a little later that some people would like, she doesn't like him. So you get to see her kind of like grow an admiration for him. But she's got a good voice and she's smart. And, you know, it was actually pretty enjoyable having already knowing the story and what happened, because as I said, that was ridiculous. But whatever, I ended up giving this one an A just because the enjoyment. I mean, it was such an enjoyable experience to read. I would say if you have never read nor seen the adaptation, it might do you good watch the adaptation first and then read this, because it is kind of a ridiculous mystery. Then I finished, so one of my goals for this year, I have to look up exactly what it was, but something about reading a certain number of my book of the month books within like 3 months of getting them. I want to let you know that I read my January book of the month book. It was a Mercury by Amy Jo Burns. So I was taking a risk on this. I didn't really know much about it. I was actually really close to not choosing a book in January, but then I said, you know, this kind of sounds interesting. And then Kaitlin at Mandy Books read it, and she said she thought I'd like it. And I did. I did like this book. I gave it an A. Get that out of the way. It's very, I will say though, I could see if I had been in a different mood or wanting something different, this would be not a good book for me. It is very slow, very character driven. So you kind of have to be okay with that. And if you aren't, this book's not going to be a success for you. So I would say no going into it, that it's character and slow burn. There you go. That being said, the writing was very nice. I really like the prose. And I like that she took a time telling this story. And it mostly deals with relationships, family relationships. There's several, kind of relationships among all the people there. There is one marriage relationship. There are two characters who are, there's two marriages in there, but the main character is married to another one of the characters. And she did a really excellent job of giving a truthful depiction of what marriage is like, I thought. And also I thought the family relationships in there were done really well. Is it a catchy plot? Not especially, but that's not really what, going in really quickly, I realized that's not really what I was reading it for. I was reading it for the characters. And so it really satisfied me on that. Now, a big part of this book are like family dinners, and Kaitlin at Mandy's Books did a video where she shares a recipe inspired by this book for meatloaf. I'll link to that video down below. I have not made that yet, but I'm going to, because my husband loves meatloaf, but he's like doing the super low carb thing. And so the meatloaf recipes I have all had breadcrumbs, and this one doesn't, so he can eat it. So at some point in the near future, I'm going to be doing that recipe, but check it out. And she talks more about this book, but I liked it. I would say if you are in the mood for this sort of book, give it a try. Just know it's not going to be, if you want something plot driven or a little bit faster moving or something with more, it's not going to be the book for you. You just need to be okay with what it is. And then just today, again, I'm not going to talk too much about this book, but I finished 24 Hours in Ancient Athens, a day in the life of the people who live there. I'm going to do a video about this one. Actually, as soon as I finish this video, I'm going to do a video about this, because this is my first book for Historathon 2024. And it's just a book that talks about like everyday people in Athens in the year, I think 496 BCE, I think. I don't know. But it's 24 little vignettes, and there's different people in each hour. And it was really interesting. So if you want to know more, I'm going to do a video, as I said, after I film this, and that will go up next Tuesday. So for what I'm reading, I do have my sort of ongoing reads that I don't usually talk about until I finish. So we put those aside. After that, I'm just down to 3 books, one of which I'm not even really reading yet. So in print, once I finished Mercury, I'm trying to this year mood read off of my shelves as much as I can. And so I kind of had some books I was thinking about reading after Mercury. And I went upstairs to get one, and I went to a totally different book. And I picked up Hid From Your Eyes by Julia Spencer-Fleming. This is the most recent book in the Claire Fergusson Rustbound Alstyne series. So once I read this, I'm caught up with the series. So this came out in 2020. The reason I had to look that up is important. Julia Spencer-Fleming is not an author who publishes every year. She said in the afterword, I kind of looked in the afterword of this, that it was like 6 years between this book and the one before it. And at one point it was like 10 years. So I don't know if this is the end of the series or not, but I'm going to be caught up. I like this series. It's about Claire Fergusson is a woman. She used to be in the military, but now she's an Episcopal priest, and she's called to this town in the Adirondacks where she meets the police officer there, police chief, Russ Van Alstyne, and things happen. People get murdered. They solve them together. I personally am an Episcopalian, so I love that aspect, and she does a really good job. All of the hymns, all the titles of these books are from Episcopal hymns, or hymns that happen to be in the Episcopal hymnal. I'm sure they're in other hymnals too. But I like that. I will say, though, this is a bit of an up and down series for me. Not all the books have been successful. So if I were to look at my two beloveds, my two series that are my beloveds, which are the Three Pines series by Louise Penny and the Cork O'Connor series by William Kent Kruger, I know that the next books, they both have books coming out this year. I know those books are going to be good. They may not be my favorites in the series, but they're going to be good books, right? I don't always have that assurance with this one because there have been ones that I just didn't think were very good. But there have been other ones I thought were excellent. So we'll see what I think of this one. And then we'll see if anything else comes out in this series ever. I don't know. It's a mystery. And then on digital, on my Kobo, I am still reading The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I am not making the progress I would like in this book for no fault of the book. When you are a book polygamist like me and you have several books going at a time, you get, at least what I do is I have certain points in my day where I read certain books or read in certain forms. And when I read in my Kobo is what I read when I'm out and about doing things, like I brought it with me and read it, while I was waiting for my hair color to whatever, or I read it right before bed. Or the other time I read it is when I pick my daughter up from school because, oh my God, high school parking lots are the worst. So I either have to pick her up like 20 to 30 minutes after school gets out, or I have to get there about 45 minutes early so I can get far enough in a line that I'm in front of this crosswalk, because if I don't, I cannot leave for 30 minutes after school gets out. So I have to get there early, which means I have 45 minutes to do something. So I read. And that's why I get a lot of my Kobo reading done. Well, since we've all been like stuck in the house all week, I haven't had, and the few days before that, so the end of last week, my daughter was home sick. I haven't had that reading time in my day. So I just haven't been going as quickly as I would like with this book, The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. Now, I will definitely stop reading it within the next 9 days because it's a library loan and it goes away in 9 days. I should finish it well before then. I am enjoying it. I am a little worried that the hype might have been too big for me going into it. So when I read a book like it's a new release, I either want to read it before the hype starts, or I want to read it long after the hype's end. But I'm kind of at the peak of hype with this one. And I kind of think that I went in with really high expectations, and I as good as it is, I don't even know if it's possible to meet those expectations. I am really, really enjoying the book. I just, at this point, not sure it's going to be as absolutely fantastically wonderful as people have told me it is, but we'll see. Not quite halfway through with it, so hopefully soon. And then on audio, I am still listening to Better Living Through Birding by Christian Cooper. I'm a slow audiobook listener. I'm not someone who can multitask really with audiobooks. And I really do want to pay attention to this one. This is, again, very short synopsis. It's just a memoir of this guy, Christian Cooper, who is a Black queer pagan birdwatcher, Black queer pagan comic book writer birdwatcher, that no one would probably have ever heard of, except one day he was birdwatching in Central Park and a Karen, and I mean that, don't mean that as to my viewers, Karen, but a Karen called the police on him, and that was a big deal. And she, it did not go well for her after that, but it went well for him because he apparently has his own TV show. But this is his memoir. Now, when I first heard that he was coming out with a memoir, I was like, really? I mean, he was in an unfortunate situation. Is that enough for a memoir? But yes, that actually we haven't gotten to that part. This is not a big deal in his book. He just has had an amazing life. he, you know, just his experience of being in these communities that are a little bit more on the margin in the time that he's living has been very interesting. And he is a very good writer. He does, as I said, he wrote stories for comic books. He was responsible for the first out gay Marvel character. He did work for Marvel for a while. And he's a bird watcher, and he's very passionate about nature and the outdoors. And he's funny to listen to. He does narrate his own book. So I'm really, really enjoying it, and I really want to pay attention to it when I listen to it. So that is taking me just a little bit longer. I do hope to be finished with it by next week, though. So a little bit shorter this week because, as I said, I'm stuck in the house all week. I need people to leave my house. I just do. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Feel free to join my Discord. Information is down below. I'm getting really good at putting that at the end of everything. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.